LinkedIn is not a job search platform. If you treat it only as a job search platform, then it is something like Indeed. You can't compare Indeed with LinkedIn. LinkedIn provides you a lot more opportunities to become more visible. You are a supply chain professional, and in your industry, for instance, you have cosmetics, because you are a supply chain professional in the cosmetic industry. So you're thinking putting cosmetics would work. It would not work, because it has to be logistics and supply chain, because this is what you are. That's how important these keywords are. Now, from February this year, 2024, LinkedIn is more focusing on content based keywords as well. As the algorithms are becoming more powerful, algorithms are now able to read content, the post that you're writing. See, the fundamental of networking is creating a win-win situation. If I'm only a seeker, a job seeker, or someone who's looking for business leads, then I'm almost doing a cold call. Whereas if you're building conversation, then you're building a relationship. The recruiters is looking for you, they are using a tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. LinkedIn Recruiter is not what you see on LinkedIn. It's a very different tool.
Hello and welcome to another podcast on my channel where my mission is to help supply chain professionals like you build real life skills for your job and career that they don't teach you in college. And today we will talk about the importance of LinkedIn profile optimization. So, to talk about that, I've invited someone who is an expert in this space. He has a platform called careerguru.co where he has about 44,000 followers, and he helps a lot of professionals in order to optimize their LinkedIn profile. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Hammad Siddiqui. Hello, Hammad. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well, Hammad. So, thanks for coming to this show, first of all. And tell us, Hammad, what are the common things people get wrong when it comes to LinkedIn profile?
There are many. I think we need to really start from the basics. The fundamental, we need to really understand the fundamental. The fundamental is that LinkedIn is not a job search platform. If you treat it only as a job search platform, then it is something like Indeed. You can't compare Indeed with LinkedIn. LinkedIn provides you a lot more opportunities to become more visible and connect directly with recruiters, potential opportunities, companies that are on your target or on your radar, connect with the content that's being put out. Whereas Indeed and similar job portals are pretty much straitjacket. So that's the fundamental that we need to understand. When you're on LinkedIn, if you are only looking for a job, you may be only utilizing 5 to 10% of LinkedIn's capability, and just looking for a job actually often does not help, because you are missing out on other 90% features that LinkedIn offers. And that's the fundamental that we need to understand. It is not only a job search portal, it's a portal where we connect with professionals, we build our network, we connect with opportunities. And often it's not only about job. I know some of my clients in the supply chain industry are consultants, right? And so they are providing consulting services to their clients using LinkedIn as a platform. So the platform itself is agile and it's very dynamic. How do we use it? If we use it just for one purpose, which is, I'm looking for a job, then of course you are limiting yourself, or you're being victim of self-limiting belief, as I say, is that because we don't really know about LinkedIn as much.
Great. And just elaborate on this a little bit more, Ahmad, and thanks for bringing that up because, like, you are absolutely right that people think of LinkedIn, okay, I need to find a job only, then most of the people become active on it. And once they have a job and they are in their comfort zone, they might not even go and be active on this, right? So tell us a little bit about in today's time and age when let's say the average life of a job is shrinking because there is high turnover and the situation of the around the world keeps changing all the time, so job security is almost like a myth. So tell us a little bit more about the importance of staying active on LinkedIn even if you are not looking for a job.
So, and this is such a beautiful question, Jamil. This is what I call short-sightedness. The the opportunities are out there, and the opportunities for growth are out there as well. Which means that before a company asks you to leave, you can also leave a company if you find a better opportunity. As simple as that. The other thing is that what is the guarantee that you would continue in a company for an extended period of time? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. The turnover is pretty high now in the market, generally speaking, and the way this particular industry supply chain is evolving and growing globally, a lot more people are switching jobs. And if you are not one of them, then maybe you become stale in just working in one company. So building your skills and knowledge into different sectors within the industry is also very important. And that happens often when you are actually switching from one job to another job. So simple logistic companies to a much more dynamic company would of course give you more opportunities. So before you are asked to leave, if you are prepared and you're already in the market and already people know you, already you have a network and you're talking to people, opportunities will keep falling into your lap, right? And that's one thing that we miss out. We become lazy. We are human beings, right? Often the only strategy, as I say, those who are looking for a job is one: find a job. That's it. Then they're stuck in maintaining their job rather than looking for new opportunities. Successful people keep looking for new opportunities. They may not switch, but they would know exactly where the opportunities are, who are the people who are hiring, what kind of skills are required at this point in time. And all that can be done only if we are active on LinkedIn and we are connecting with right people, talking to right audience, helping people in doing something, providing solutions, writing content. All that is required to stay alive on LinkedIn. So I always say, do not treat LinkedIn as your resume. You use your resume only when you need it.
This is a great point, Ahmad, and I want you to elaborate also on how is LinkedIn a platform to constantly upskill yourself, because there are a lot of jobs in the supply chain industry which are kind of repetitive, right? So you could be, let's say, a data entry clerk in a warehouse, or you could be doing some other kind of repetitive job in a different part of supply chain. So how can people use LinkedIn as a source of constantly upgrading their skill set?
I mean, the first thing first, which means that you need to know what kind of skill sets are required, right? And it's your choice. You can keep searching on different platforms that typical jobs that are out there, or you stay active on LinkedIn, connect with those people who are in the industry leaders, because they talk about what is changing. Often at the back end, when we're sitting in an office environment or in a warehouse environment, in a professional environment, we are not really aware of what is changing outside. So one of my clients from Dubai, uh, so he's with me on a kind of a long term like assignment where I'm actually building his brand on LinkedIn and helping with the content and everything. And I asked him this question, young fellow, very experienced. I said, what about AI? How much do you know about AI and its integration into supply chain? Now, AI is not something very new in supply chain. Robots have been used for years now, right? And that's where the AI, I think, to my knowledge, started with making these robots intelligent enough, right? Now, AI is at a pretty advanced stage, and even in various supply chains, AI is pretty much integrated. But he said he doesn't have any knowledge. He's never used AI. And what I told him, okay, I said, now I'm going to share with you some content use from LinkedIn and some other resources as well. What you need to do is to just consume that content. Your next conversation when you have with a client, your first question should be, how much AI do you use in your system? And that will change the conversation completely. And that one piece of conversation will change the direction of your lead. It will change completely, because Now you are expressing your subject matter expertise, and you are talking to something which other people are not talking about, or at least in a bigger way. And that happens only when you have knowledge, and the knowledge comes from various sources, and LinkedIn is one of the source for that knowledge.
That. Tell us a little bit more about networking because I get a lot of questions, Ahmad, from people who are, let's say, trying to move from one geography to the other. One of the advantages of supply chain industry and the jobs are that these skills are very transferable. In fact, just yesterday I was having a coaching call with one of my mentees. Where he's trying to move from one country to another country and those kind of things, right? So, and of course, a lot of times people start the right way. So, for instance, they are not just becoming active to seek a job, they start with networking. But networking is mostly for a lot of people like easier said than done, right? So, how can people, what are like some of the things that people don't do right on networking, and what are the things they should do?
See, the fundamental of networking is creating a win-win situation. That's the fundamental. If I'm only a seeker, a job seeker, or someone who's looking for business leads, then I'm almost doing a cold call. And people don't like cold calling. I mean, how many times, and this is something that I always ask people, how many times will you pick up a phone call if a call is coming from a number that you are not aware of? It's not into your directory. 99% you're not going to pick it up, right? So if you're doing cold calling, then of course you have to do at least 200 calls before one person picks it up. Whereas if you're building conversation and you're building that trust, credibility, showing your excellence to someone, asking the right questions, or contributing into a conversation, then you're building a relationship. And relationships last for a very long time. A lot of my clients come to me after following me for 6 months. Even like recently, somebody signed up with me. This gentleman was following. He's from South Korea. He's been following me for 2 years. I mean, this guy never commented on my post, but he was seeing my post on a daily basis, and that's what actually helped him build the confidence in me.
Mhm.
So the first part of networking is actually thinking about relationship building and creating a win-win situation. It's not about sending a connection request and then literally forgetting about it. So be very specific, very targeted. Even a smaller network has pretty much good net worth. If that network is valuable, if that network is a lot of everything in it, then it's not valuable. There's pretty much a missing misconception here that the bigger the network, better it is. Yeah, it is only if it's relevant. If it is not relevant, then regardless of how big your network is, it's not going to help.
Absolutely. And I think you said something very important there, which I want to repeat, that your network is your net worth. And in your network is not just people that you know, but it's basically the people who know other people. So it's like a mesh. It's not just your kind of immediate connections. It's your extended network as well. So that's great, Ahmad. Thanks for kind of touching on the networking piece. Can you just tell us a little bit before I move on to my next question? Just staying with networking, like what are kind of some of the most obvious things people can do in order to start building? And the first few steps in this journey are the hardest, right? So, what would your advice be to someone who is just learning about this platform, and they are, like we already covered, that they don't see this anymore as just as a job finding platform, but as a networking platform? What would your advice be to such people?
Okay, so Jack Ma in one of his speech said, "Nothing is easy." Right? Even coming on a podcast this morning, Saturday, I just completed one training program for a client. Uh, Joining this podcast was not easy, right? But I was committed. You were committed. It's a Saturday, nice weather outside. We could have been out there doing something else. So, I mean, unless we don't have an objective, unless we are not committed, nothing will be easy, right? Everything will be very difficult. So the first point is how much commitment do you have in using your LinkedIn or creating momentum on LinkedIn? Very important. The second point comes in, you need to learn that tool. It is something, you know, time is everything. You can spend a year and still can't learn it, and you can spend a couple of weeks and learn everything and start running with it. Your choice, right? Now, once you understand the nitty gritties, and one of the nitty gritties, of course, how do I reach out to one person? How do I reach out to Jamil or Ahmad? Now, I get a lot of DMs. I'm hyperactive on LinkedIn. That's my place to do business, so I'm hyperactive. Uh, Please comment on my post so that my reach increases. And then I say, you have never commented on my post. I don't even know you. Why would
Mhm.
I comment on your post? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that start commenting. That's your first step towards building that relationship that you need to build on LinkedIn. And then you will learn. I mean, honestly speaking, uh, I personally feel, because I coach a lot of people on LinkedIn, writing a piece of content is more difficult than commenting on somebody else's post. And what is the reason? The reason is that your mind is responding to a question, which is easier than creating something new, a post. Yeah. So if you are struggling in what to write, at least start commenting, right? Which will give you some practice and will help you also build some relationship. But the downside of this is that if your profile is not optimized and you're not adding like valuable content, then if you're commenting and people coming back and looking at your profile, they won't find anything there, right? And there will be no reason for them to like start conversation with you. So there has to be a holistic picture around what needs to be done. But commenting is, of course, the first step towards building that relationship. So if I want to connect with Jameel, uh, I should, number one, find Jameel and see if I'm aligned with him or her, if there's a girl there, and then start talking. So it's like going to a party. You go to a party, you don't talk to anyone, nobody would know who you are, right? Which means often you have to start uh, your conversation. You have to say hello to people, right? And then slowly, and then once you say hello, you don't immediately go and say, "This is what I do. This is what I'm looking for." No, you don't do that. Start creating that conversation.
So you mentioned the profile optimization in this response, Ahmad, and that is, I think, also one of the topics I wanted to cover on this podcast is when you talk to your clients, and I'm sure you get tons of questions about like profile optimization. Tell us a little bit about, like, what are the three common mistakes people do and how they can avoid them.
I think again, I'll go back to the fundamentals. I think the smallest things are very important. We need to understand. The smallest thing is that we don't know that LinkedIn is a search engine. Okay, when a recruiter comes in, and because we are talking purely from job seekers' perspective, when a recruiter is looking for you, they are using a tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. LinkedIn Recruiter is not what you see on LinkedIn. It's a very different tool. You may be able to show people in one of the slides in this when you edit. Just take a screenshot from somewhere. If you don't find it, let me know. I'll send it to you. That's part of my program. Because if we don't know how people are searching for us as a supply chain professional, or for that matter, in any profession, we will never appreciate the power of LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn Recruiter, there are about 20 different parameters through which recruiters search a candidate or a potential candidate. And if your profile is not optimized to target an industry, your keywords, your about summary, your experience, your profile is incomplete, um, and there are many factors that people don't even look at in their profile. Sometimes they have 10 years old picture there, which is not who you are. A lot of time profiles are not verified. If you're in a country where you can't verify the profile, that's fine. Obviously you can't do much. But in countries where you can verify the profile, a verified profile is more trustworthy. uh, you are not targeting your content by showing that this is what you do. You are not adding value to people. Your banner is missing, or if there's a banner, the banner is totally irrelevant. And I often tell people, okay, if you're in GTA and if you have CN Tower on your banner, it doesn't mean anything to anyone, right?
Right.
So your banner is like a billboard, right? How do you use that billboard? You promote yourself. So when I work with my client, there's one thing that I do. Okay, how do you want people to know you? This is the fundamental question for any personal branding initiative when you're starting it. How do I want people to know me? And one of the things that people don't understand is the concept of control narrative.
Mm.
Your social media actually helps you control that narrative around your personality. So, and I'm 100% sure our audience here would not know this concept. This concept comes from authoritarian governments, frankly
Mhm.
speaking, but
Yeah.
it's the same concept applied on social media as well. So Elon Musk controls his narrative. Whatever people like him, people don't like him, that's something different. But he controls that narrative, right? Neil Patel controls his narrative. So as we as supply chain professionals should also control that narrative, which means what am I going to say today on my post will actually determine how far my visibility will go. More visible I am on LinkedIn, which means more impressions my posts are getting, more views my profile is getting, more searches my profile is getting, more visible I will become. More visible you are, more people will know you. More people will know you, more people will trust you. And that actually starts generating opportunities. It is not a quick fix, it is a marathon. So be brave enough, run that marathon.
Excellent. So this is a very good segue, Ahmad, to one of the last questions I wanted to ask you is there is a lot of talk going around, this concept called personal branding, right? And I think it's kind of also the control narrative piece you talked about, like, also feeds into it. So how, first of all, for my audience, tell us a little bit about what is personal branding and why is it so important in the context of LinkedIn?
I would say not only in the context of LinkedIn, within your own organization. See, I mean, particularly relatively larger organizations, there are people don't like, and there are people love.
Mhm.
Why that happens? We are human beings, right? We like to relate to people using some uh, parameters. This person is a micromanager. Is it good branding or bad branding? you know I don't have to say it's bad branding. It is bad branding, right? This is an empowering manager, right? He delegates, he empowers, he provided resources. Now that person has a different branding altogether. This is personal branding. How people know you is what makes you a great leader or not so great leader. So again, the word personal branding is very very important these days. How people know you. See, most of the time, uh, within an organization, people's capabilities are determined because of their emotional intelligence, or how they're connected with people. In teams, if you are not a good leader or if you are not a good player, your utility is pretty much close to zero, right? People like to connect with people. Teams are built based on this, how people are doing, how people are behaving. Your personal branding matters. If people like you, you have better chances of doing more, growing more, learning more, building more momentum towards your own growth. Very simple. So the question, again, going back to what you asked, is how people know you is in your hand. And that's what personal branding means.
Excellent, Amma. Thanks for touching on personal branding because that's such an important concept and it's being talked about more and more. So I really wanted to ask you around that. So thanks for answering that question. So and my last question, Ahmad, is really about keywords. Now, keywords are always the question when it comes to LinkedIn profile, or people also ask me a lot of questions about these automatic, tracking systems when they're submitting their job applications and those kind of things. So, and even when I make my videos about certain jobs, I do mention, like, what are some of the keywords mentioned in the job descriptions and all of that stuff. So tell us about the importance of keywords and from a LinkedIn perspective.
No, a great question. See, everything is based on algorithms, right? And people do searches, relevances. The way we see recommendations about different things on LinkedIn. All these things comes through keywords. You are a supply chain professional, and in your industry, for instance, you have cosmetics, because you are a supply chain professional in the cosmetic industry. So you're thinking putting cosmetics would work. It would not work, because it has to be logistics and supply chain, because this is what you are. That's how important these keywords are, because building relevance and targeting happen through these keywords. Similarly, your headline, your title is very important. Your most searchability happens through your title, through your experience section, and through your content. Now, from February this year, 2024, LinkedIn is more focusing on content based keywords as well. As the algorithms are becoming more powerful, algorithms are now able to read content, the post that you're writing. And from that post, they're learning what kind of specialization you have, what is your strengths, what are your strengths, and based on that, the relevance is improving. It will take time, because it takes time for algorithms to learn all these things, but once it is there, it will actually increase significantly. The relevance will increase significantly. So using these very targeted keywords, again, going back to the same point, Emil, controlled narrative. Just keep everything in mind. It is, again, Jack Ma, it's not easy, but it will become easy when we learn it, when we know this.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for sharing that. Even I didn't know that, the algorithm is now becoming powerful enough not just to pick what I put on my profile, but also what I'm posting, which basically also, like, emphasizing on the importance of the frequency of posting and the relevance of the content that you post, with some of the things that you already covered in the past. So even, for example, what I think the key message for the audience on this piece is that when you post something, try to post something which is relevant to your industry and to your maybe sub niche. So for example, let's say if I think about a supply chain equivalent of this, if you are a supply planning manager and your aspiration is to become a supply planning director or specialize furthermore in this space, then you may want to find content available out there on that specific sub niche in supply chain, because that will make your profile even more relevant with some of these newer algorithms you're talking about. Is that fair to
Absolutely.
say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, every time you're doing something, it's still relevant.
Perfect. Excellent. So thanks a lot, Ahmad, for your time again. I really appreciate. I think those were like some of the key points I wanted to cover with you. I'm sure like this podcast will be super helpful for my supply chain audience. I got a lot of questions about LinkedIn, and I think you have answered most of them. So thanks a lot once again for your time, and I really wish you best of luck in whatever you are doing.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I wish best of luck to everyone who is in supply chain industry, because that's apparently is growing rapidly, and transformation is happening. I think probably extremely fast. Be part of what is happening, and if you are not, then you will miss the boat, and I'm sure we don't want to miss the boat.
Absolutely. I would just like to conclude this with something that one of my regional presidents recently said to me, that supply chain is becoming the new marketing, right? Because think about like the number of times In the old days, people would look at a product on a TV ad where, like, of course, marketing was super important, right? And how you, the first moment of truth, as what a lot of companies call that, where people see your product. But now, with e-commerce becoming so dominant, the number of touch points supply chain has on those customer experiences are much higher, right? So when you place an order, let's say on Amazon or any other platform, it will tell you, okay, it will get delivered in 1 or 2 days. That is supply chain for you. How you receive the package at your doorstep, that is supply chain for you. So the number of times a consumer feels supply chain now has increased versus 10 or 15 years ago. So and that is why I really am, I'm a proud member of this community. At the same time, my mission, as I always say at the start of every video, is to help supply chain professionals build real life skills which are typically not taught in careers. In fact, supply chain was something which was not even taught formally in colleges and universities until very, very recently. That is why building those skills on the job are important. And if you have any questions around that, do subscribe to my channel, and you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So thanks a lot once again, Hammad, and let's stay connected.
Definitely.